Stuck between a libertarian and a Republican. Welcome to Publitarian Podcast.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. This is Ronald Johnson, Publitarian, coming at you again with another episode of Publitarian Podcast. And we were up to episode number 113. And I believe I'm going to call this episode Welcome to Clown World, or I'd like to cancel my subscription to Clown World, or something involving Clown World. It's so ridiculous. I mean, I feel like we're in a circus. I just don't... Yes, exactly. Just non-stop circus. Anyway, the Publitarian drink of the day is straight bourbon in a frickin' glass because, yeah, it's one of those days. Michael Knowles said it best, that we are no longer living in a serious society, and I mean, it's true. We are living in clown world. The entire globe has become clown world, where this elite bureaucratic few that have a bunch of letters behind their name and literally nothing else, no other type of credentials, are running the country now and running the world, and it's... Do you hear that in the background? That's funny. They're coming to get me, I guess. So anyway, I'm trying to be humorous and not black-pilled about this because I've always said on my podcast, and I've said to other people on my Politigram via DMs and whatnot, that if I was ever feeling like black-pilled, and if you don't know what black-pilled means, it's just like, all is lost, swallow the black pill, go to sleep. If I was ever feeling black-pilled, I wouldn't do a podcast, and it's actually why I've been absent a lot from social media, because the negativity and the oppression and the psychological warfare that is being presented, not even on just conservatives, but on people that aren't hardcore leftists, on people that don't take a political stance one way or the other. They're being drilled down into. It's like this weird, just Orwellian, like, you will comply, you will think and talk like this, and if so, we will deperson you. And as an example, this was just a couple days ago. I'm sure everyone that listens to this podcast is familiar with Joe Rogan, but Joe Rogan had on his podcast Dr. Gupta, Sanjay Gupta, I do believe his name is. He's a CNN correspondent, and Joe Rogan wanted to have him on the podcast to kind of clear the air, because CNN and many other mainstream media news outlets have been repeating this line that Joe Rogan was taking horse paste, or that Joe Rogan was taking horse dewormer, i.e. ivermectin, to cure his coronavirus. And so Rogan had the doctor, and to the doctor's credit, the doctor was brave enough to show up. Like I said, this is a CNN correspondent, and Rogan was basically like, yo, dude, you straight up lied on CNN. You lied and misrepresented and said that ivermectin is horse paste. And he was like, ivermectin does have veterinary uses, but it's also prescribed by doctors, and it won a Nobel Peace Prize. And the doctor started finishing his sentences and going, "Oh yeah, won a Peace Prize, yeah." And he was like, "Well, dude, you're on a network saying that it's horse dewormer," and the doctor, did a bunch of backpedaling and double speak and double talk, and then, damn it, went on CNN again after that podcast and was like, him and Don Lemon kind of just like blended the instrument like the left likes to do, and kind of discredited and just kind of double speaked and word saladed their way out of it. And it's not serious. It's not serious anymore. This is clown world. This is just straight up goofy propaganda. And it's just, I can't take it anymore. And what's even more scary is how many people believe it. How many people believe the propaganda? Like, I watched a chant at a NASCAR race of an entire crowd saying, "Burp, Joe Biden," like loud and proud, F Joe Biden, and a reporter interviewing the NASCAR driver named Brandon going, "Yeah, listen to the crowd. Let's go, Brandon." Like, in real time. I mean, like, what do you make of that? That is, it's clown. It's clown world to me. We have a president that can't even get 5 words strung together without it sounding like some geriatric get off my lawn tirade by someone that you would expect to hear like in an assisted living facility. Clowns. A bunch of clowns. The most popular president in U.S. history. 81 gazillion votes. There's never been any more votes ever except for this guy. And the guy can't even fill a freaking high school gymnasium. It's amazing. Like, whenever you see, I don't remember ever hearing like F Donald Trump in big stadium crowds. Yes, you'd hear it on social media, you'd hear it on YouTube, places like that. I'm talking about spontaneous, out in sports arenas and crowds, people yelling that stuff. But yet this guy, Biden, is like the most celebrated, revered president we've ever had with the most popular votes ever of any president. And Trump still sells out when he does speaking engagements? Still? You guys, you expect me to believe all this, right? We're living in clown world. And I don't want to renew my subscription anymore. We had Biden talking to Putin months ago going, hey, here's our strategic places that you shouldn't send missiles to. And remember, they're off limits. Here's the list. Here's where they're at. And now remember, they're off limits. Don't bomb them. It's just, I mean, it's... Exactly. It's driving me crazy. And we now have a 4-star admiral, quote unquote. That's the first female 4-star admiral. And it's Rachel Levine. And his real name is Richard. And he's in charge of health. Health has to do with mental health, too. We've got a dude that thinks he's a chick in charge of our mental health. Yes, that is what's happening now. Welcome to frickin' clown world. It's a frickin' circus that we've all been trapped in. And we were forced to attend this circus, and it's just a loop of clowns over and over again. We don't even get to see cool trapeze shit. It's just endless slapstick clowns over and over and over again. So Rachel Levine is being lauded as the first female 4-star admiral, and it's not even technically a military position, but that's a whole nother layer. Honestly, if I was a woman, even if I were a hardcore leftist feminist woman, I would be outraged. I would be like, yo, men are taking this too? It's like leftist women, are you really okay with this? All the fights and, struggles that you have gone through to promote your gender, and then this is what becomes of it? And you guys are still on board with this? You're still okay with it? We have idiots and clowns and central planners all around us telling us how everything works and how everything that they do works. And it's not a disaster, and it's really good. We've got the White House saying that, oh yeah, demand is good. It's good that there's demand and a supply chain problem. That just means like everybody wants things. What in economics 101 ever is high demand and no supply ever a good thing? Like, I don't even have any kind of degree, and I know that there's a supply and demand dance that needs to be done. And if demand is high, that means there's scarcity of something. And the Washington Post, of course, and all the other media outlets running defense and going, no, you just need to learn to, do with less. Maybe ideologically, philosophically, that may have some merit because, we have become like a big nation of just like huge consumers and GDP growthers. I get that, but at the same time, you can't paint a picture and say this thing that's bad that's happening is actually good, because it's not. And it's a manufactured crisis because of government overreach and corporate cronyism. The supply chain crisis has happened. And those are the big causes of it. And they're wanting to say, yeah, well, coronavirus, blah, blah, blah. Well, okay, you're the ones that shut down the economy. I'm looking at the previous administration, too. I mean, I don't want to throw Trump under the bus here, but, ultimately he listened to the same shitty advisors that Joe Biden has now. And we're at where we're at. Anyway, I look around and I see these central planners and these bureaucrats. If everything that they do works, then why isn't it working? And don't tell me they haven't had enough time. They've had about, 3 or 4 generations of time. Like, it doesn't work. Leftism does not work. It will never work. Because this society is taking the dumbest among us and the least qualified among us, just the ones that have fancy letters behind their name, and elevating them with no practical knowledge of anything about how anything works. I don't think Fauci's a great doctor. I think he's a great politician, and he's a good talker. Being a great politician and a good talker does not qualify you for a lot of practical things in life. And it's driving me special. Clowns all around us. And a little bit off topic, but leftists, as usual, they don't see the end game of where all this progressivism leads to. Ironically, all of this is regressive, not progressive. Reopening all of the wounds of, like, race, color, gender. Mistakes happen in the past. Like, if we were all judged by our mistakes constantly in the past, we would never be able to move forward. Like I've said before on my podcast many times, even a leftist friend of mine said, sooner or later, an apology will have to be enough. That goes with anything in life. If you want to cherry pick certain points in nano history that the left likes to do, like specifically right here, late 50s, early 60s, and specifically right here in the 1800s, but ignoring that those were all Democrats. And, let's put that aside. Oh, by the way, the Democrats actually became Republicans. Yeah, there was a big switch. Except there wasn't. There was no big switch. One dude changed from Democrat to Republican. That's it. That was not a big switch. Anyway, I'm belaboring the point. But they're reintroducing all of this stuff, opening up all these wounds of race and color and gender, and actually resegregating people. Like, black students now just want to have their own, like, black graduations, yada yada. Growing government to the point to where it can inflict massive harm on somebody. When you do that, when you grow government to that magnitude, you're left with a government large enough that can do harm on you and that can do anything to you. There's a famous quote about that, and it just escaped my mind. A government powerful enough to give you anything is a government powerful enough to take it all away. Oh, man. Anyway, that's going to be my rant. I could do a full 20-minute podcast, and I do have some other, like, house cleaning talking points that I need to do to get out on the podcast, but I think I'll leave it alone today, or else I'll just continue to go into a black-pilled spiral. But I'm just trying to be humorous on this and not totally black-pilled. I'm seeing, like, parents finally wake up, like, with the CRT stuff. I'm seeing the Let's Go Brandon chant everywhere. Like, I'm starting to see people slowly wake up and get out of their shells. I just, I hope it's not too late. And that's pretty much it, I think, on this edition of Publitarian Podcast. I apologize if the audio quality isn't quite where you're used to. I did the Robert Ross interview using my professional software just so I could give him a good quality interview, and then I, canceled my subscription again, and I'm back to this other, like, free option that I use because I can't justify the expense and do the free podcast, but I still try to make it sound professional as possible. I am the master. I do a bunch of ums, and you won't hear a lot of them because I cut them out. But with this particular software, I can't do any editing. So whatever comes out of my mouth unless I want to re-record the whole thing. So yeah, it's kind of a version of podcasting live. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and this little mini epic rant on Clown World and the clowns that exist in Clown World. And I think that will do it for me on this edition of Publitarian Podcast. If you want to reach out to me, you can. I'm Publitarian at protonmail.com, and I am on all the social medias. If you just look up Publitarian, you'll find my name on there. And that will do it for me, and I'll see you again on the next edition of Publitarian Podcast. Take it easy. Oops, wrong bumper music, so I'll have to put the copyright in myself. You've been listening to Publitarian Podcast. Copyright 2021.